and I can talk about that whole thing, that whole topic, just like the ignorance that comes in to like trying to learn all these things and like have all these spiritual abilities. Hi everyone, it's Jo, your mystical guide and spiritual advisor here. Thank you so much for being with me today and allowing me to guide you. Today's video is going to be a little short, on the shorter side, because I have so many other projects that I'm working on today, and I literally just like I overbooked myself. I did, but it is okay because we are getting shit done anyway, and you know, I'm posting a video today, so yeah. So this video is going to be about the ego death and why I don't particularly like that term, nor do I like I don't know, it's trending, I don't know, trendiness in the spiritual community, and stuff like that, and basically, you know, how you can have an ego death yourself. And so yeah, that is what we'll be covering today. But before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you're new here. If you are a recurring subscriber / viewer, thank you so much again for coming back to my channel, and I really do enjoy and love the support. Let's just get started and I don't know, hop right into this video. So what is an ego death? An ego death is basically just like a removal of self-identity. That's basically what it is, and it literally says it in the name. I in Latin is, ego in Latin means I. If you didn't know that, now you know, but pretty much everyone knows that that's what it means in Latin. And so yeah, so that's what it is, just like basically a removal of like yourself. A lot of people, I'm not shitting on this because it is useful. I use it, you know, in my practice, obviously, since I'm a death witch and I work with death energy all the time, especially with my clients and in my practice, etc., etc. I'm working with death energy all the time, so of course I'm going to be familiar with an ego death, and of course I'm going to actually have like experience with one, right? So the reason why I hate the term the death of self or ego death is because it kind of it makes it seem like the ego is a terrible thing, you know what I mean? Like and it's not. A lot of people seek out an ego death right in the spiritual community because that's just like one thing that you learn right when you enter this space of existence. Sorry. I'm like shaking my camera. Okay, that's what you know, that's what you learn when you enter like the spiritual community. When you start learning about spirituality, basically one of the first things you learn is affirmations, meditation, and ego death, right? And you don't even get into protection. Oh yeah, and you know, opening your third eye. Those are the 4 things that you do, and you don't even get into protection. And I can talk about that whole thing, that whole topic, just like the ignorance that comes in to like trying to learn all these things and like have all these spiritual abilities without like even touching the subject of protection. But you know, I can get into that, and I'm not going to, but that'd be a long video, and it's gonna be a really good video if I do make it. But that's not what we are talking about. But yeah, so yeah, that's one of the first things you learn is like about an ego death. You know, like, I guess it's accurate because when people start learning spirituality, they like kind of like are already in an ego death. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent. Anyway, the reason why I don't like the term is because it makes it seem like yourself, you as you are as an individual is the key term here, is you are bad, you are like not a good thing to have, right? And that is not the case at all. It's not the case. And one of the other things that I've come to experience within this community as well is that usually when people seek out an ego death, it's because not that they're trying to be like one with the universe or something like that, but they're trying to be the divine, if that makes sense. They think that getting rid of the ego is going to help them be like more godlike, if that makes sense. It's very much ego fueled. It's very much ego fueled, regardless of. I think it's basically ironic. Basically, if you believe in the Abrahamic faiths, I find this funny because even God's name is I am, right? So it's literally ego, or ego sum. Sorry, a little Latin brain technicality there, but yeah, it's literally I am. So why would you get rid of yourself if God identifies as himself? You know, if that makes sense. Like, he is the first identity, so why would you give up yours, you know? And I don't know, it just goes to show that like a lot of people don't really research well into like, and when I mean research, I don't mean like going deep and like go on the internet and read books about like this particular subject, but read and apply to how that might work in your life, or basically you know, use a scientific method on yourself. That's what research is. Not just reading up on things. No, that's not what research is. That is what being knowledgeable is. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, this topic likes to spark some ignorance in a lot of people, and they use it not for what it's supposed to be used. Yeah, that's why I don't like the term. And I really don't like, you know, that it's a trend right now. Not trying to gatekeep or anything, I just don't like that it's a trend because people use it for the wrong thing. And like, yeah, who am I to say that, like, you know, people are using things wrong, right? We're all like in this experience, like this, I don't know, human experience together, and we're just kind of like, you know, coasting through it. But when you do spiritual practices out of solely out of, you know, an I-based view, they don't really tend to benefit the world in the way that you expect it to. Now, an ego death is important. It's definitely an important part of like the spiritual like existence, or like just even the human existence. So many people have ego deaths and they don't even realize that they have them. It's definitely an important part of the human experience, but it's not like you're giving up your identity forever, you know? It's not like you're, you know, losing yourself forever. The ego is fucking important. It teaches you, it literally shows you the path that you're supposed to be on this earth. And like, it's so important, and people are like, oh, I need to get rid of it, I need to get rid of it, I need to get rid of myself, whatever. You're just literally just morphing into everyone else then, you know? It's you're supposed to be individual, but grasping the concept of oneness still, if that makes sense. You can still be an individual thing and recognize that everything that you touch is also you as well, you know? And yeah, that might not make sense, but a lot of things are not black and white. There's not, well, like, you know, everything's one, and then, oh no, there's individual things. No, like, we're all connected, but we all are different at the same time, you know? Everything is really on the spectrum, and if you're still thinking in black and whites and binary codes, then you need to probably evaluate how you think about certain situations. Anyway, yeah, so the ego death is important because it allows you to think outside of your own perspective, and that's why I really encourage you to continue to do like ego deaths if you are like already on your spiritual path, or you are curious about it. I encourage you to like at least like induce one, or like try to have one, whenever you're ready. Don't like force it just because you think it's gonna be like cool or whatever, but yeah, just sit and like, yeah, just do it every now and then, because it forces you to think outside of your own self, outside of your own reality, and it gives you a change in perspective that allows you to like do better on your own journey and really do better to like assist the greater good, or like help the rest of the world. Ego deaths are also really important because they allow like a cleansing of the soul to happen. That's basically what happens when you are doing an ego death, or like you're having yourself an ego death. When you're having an ego death, that's what happens. You're just like cleansing the soul, renewing it. When you allow the soul to breathe and clean itself out, you are actually gaining so much more clarity right when you regain your identity back, because part of the ego death process is releasing identity and finding, going deeper, I guess, like not really finding a new identity, but like going deeper and like figuring out who you are as like a whole. Basically releasing what you knew about yourself so that you can become your true self. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. This whole thing is so difficult to talk about because we only have limited vocabulary that doesn't really span the true nature of what an ego death actually is. So I might use words that don't really make sense in a context, like in this context, but you have to think about the word abstractly, like in an abstract sort of view. So yeah, if I'm not making sense, just go back and think about like how that would be said outside of its normal standard, I guess. But yeah, it cleanses the soul and allows you to discover yourself again. And on top of that, while you cleanse your soul, you also kind of get like rejuvenated. It's kind of like a jolt of like life force being entered into your body, your soul, etc., because you got all that gunk out, all that toxic stuff that you taint your soul with every day. You get it out, and yeah, and it's kind of like, oh well, now my life is fantastic, it's phenomenal now because I've cleared all that shit out, basically. And that's why, another reason why the ego death is actually super, super important. So there are two ways that you can have an ego death. I say two, but it's really like two different types, but like an umbrella term, for like all the different types that you can have an ego death, different ways that you can have an ego death. So that's slow burn and basically like explosive, right? So a slow burn ego death would be like you just like going on throughout your life, having like a dark night of the soul, experiencing your first ego death because you're like releasing, you're on your like last leg and you're like, well, I'll do whatever it fucking takes, right? And you're like starting to reflect on your life, etc., and then bam, ego death is induced, right? That's a slow burn, and that's usually how a lot of people have it. So the second way to induce, or I guess the second type of ego death is explosive. And one of those ways you can do that is by taking psychedelics, which I personally don't recommend because there's so many ways, like so many things that can go wrong while you're trying to do something like that's actually beneficial for you. Like you can actually induce psychosis instead of an ego death, but like, like that's just like something that you really, really want to avoid, that's just something that you really, really want to avoid. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you feel like doing it and you feel like, oh, this is the right method for me, then by all means, go ahead. I am not, disclaimer, I am not advocating for the use of drugs this is for legal issues, whatever. I am not advocating for the use of drugs. So the way that I like to do it personally is through a meditation. You can do either meditation or hypnosis, because those two things, you're already like calm, you're already in like a state of like zen, like right before you get into the ego death section of like your meditation or hypnosis, whichever one you want to do. And it's just much safer than if you were to take a substance and try to induce an ego death. But again, if you feel called to go, the psychedelic way, then that is your choice. And have fun with it while you can. So yeah, that is everything about ego deaths. Not everything, but basically like a crash course on ego deaths and why they're important, and basically, I don't know, different ways that you can induce one. If you need me to walk you through it step by step, I will gladly do so. Or if you just want to learn more about like death energy or death itself, I will gladly, again, take you in under my wing and teach you about everything that I know. Just sign up for a free one-on-one session with me, one-on-one call session with me on my website, and everything will be good to go. So yes, thank you so much for watching my video. Make sure you like and subscribe again, and comment down below if you've ever had an ego death before and what that experience was like. Thank you again so much for watching this video and supporting me. I love you guys so much. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Again, thank you so much for being here. Bye.